Assalamualaikum. Today we will be present about money laundering. But before we start, let me introduce everyone in my group members. My name is Alyaa Nasuha binti Yusoff. Next to me is ADLINA binti SUHAIMI, followed by Sofia binti MAHEMUD AFZAL, HUSNA NASREEN binti AHMAD SABRI, and our last group member is AIMAN NADHIRAH binti MUHAMED JAUHAR. Without any further ado, let's get into the intro. What is money laundering? Money laundering is a process of converting cash, fund, or property derived from criminals' activities such as drug trafficking or terrorist funding to give it legitimate appearance. It is a process to clean dirty money in order to disguise its criminal origin. Money laundering is a serious financial crime that is employed by white-collar and street-level criminals. Criminals use a wide variety of money laundering techniques to make illegally obtained funds appear clean. Online banking and cryptocurrency have made it easier for criminals to transfer and withdraw money without detection. Money laundering also occurs when someone buys a car with illegally acquired money, for example through tax evasion. Commonly, there are three stages of the money laundering process: placement, layering, and integration. The first stage of money laundering is known as placement, whereby dirty money is placed into the legal financial system. After getting hold of illegally acquired funds through theft, bribery, and corruption, financial criminals move the cash from its source. This is where the criminal money is washed and disguised by being placed into legitimate financial system, such as in offshore account. A criminal or criminal organization owns a legitimate restaurant business. Money obtained from illegal activities is gradually deposited into bank through the restaurant. The restaurant reports daily cash sales much higher than what is actually takes in. After placement comes the layering stage, sometimes referred to as structuring stage. The layering stage is the most complex and often entails the international movement of the funds. It breaks the funds into small transactions and makes it difficult to detect and find out about the laundering activity. It usually entails international money movement, so the law enforcement agency won't be able to track the financial gains from illegal proceedings so easily. In this stage, money will be moving around the globe electronically, trading in overseas markets. Criminals usually convert the cash into monetary instruments once the funds are placed in the financial system without detection. The proceeds can either be bankers' draft or money orders. The final stage of the money laundering process is termed the integration stage. It is at the integration stage where the money is returned to the criminal from what seems to be legitimate source. Having been placed initially as cash and layered through a number of financial transactions, the criminal proceeds are now fully integrated into the financial system and can be used for any purpose. There are many different ways in which the laundered money can be integrated back with the criminal. However, the major objective at this stage is to reunite the money with the criminal in a manner that does not draw attention and legitimate source. For example, the purchases of property, artwork, jewelry, or high-end automobiles are common ways for the launderer to enjoy their illegal profit without necessarily drawing attention to themselves. It is important to note that in reality, there is often an overlap in these three stages of money laundering. As in some cases of financial crimes, there is no requirement for the illegal funds to even be placed.
Hi, my name is ADLINA and now I will explain even further about money laundering. I will explain about the cause of money laundering. The first cause on why people do money laundering is because they want to transfer the money abroad. The illegal money they generated from their criminal activities such as drug trafficking or terrorist funding, which come from legitimate resource, will be transferred through wire transfer to move money across border without leaving any traces that could be detected by the government. Second is cost tax evasion. To avoid paying tax, the money will be washed through global or national financial systems, usually involves ill-gotten gains. The goal of money laundering in tax evasion is to hide the origins of illicitly earned money. The third cause of money laundering is due to the absence of legislation. Absence of legislation against money laundering give a free hand to criminals. Sometimes the government itself is involved. They do this to win political rivals, to please their allies, and to strengthen their value. And the last cause is bribery. Bribes included a construction guaranteeing an elected official person in kickback money in exchange for a large public infrastructure contract. The funds then will be laundered or cleaned to enter the financial system without the illegality of stigma. Next, we will look into the effect of money laundering. So, how badly does money laundering affect us? The first effect is on the business aspect. Money lenders frequently offer items or services at less than market value, making it so much more difficult for genuine businesses to compete in the market. Businesses might have to close down and face losses if they are involved in the money laundering and found difficulty by the authorities. Next, effect on the society. Businesses that formerly had a legitimate source of revenue as well as public and government personnel may be enticed to join the criminal band worker in order to partake in the lawful earnings. It also raises the expense of government since it requires a tighter law enforcement and healthcare expenditure, for example, for the treatment of drug users to fight the bad consequences. Lastly, effect on the economy. According to the section Scandal Money Laundering harms financial sector institutions that are crucial to economic progress while also encouraging crime and corruption, which slow growth and reduce efficiency in the real economy. Besides, it has reduced tax income by making it impossible for the government to collect taxes from legal transactions. Due to non-compliance with money laundering, numerous financial institutions have been damaged, which led to a negative impact on development and economic progress. That is all for me. Thank you.
Assalamualaikum and hello everybody. I am Karin Sofia binti Mahmud AFZAL and I'll be talking about the background of the company that we have chosen, which is Geneva Malaysia Sendirian Berhad. It is a gold trading company that was established in 2002. However, it was only officially launched in the year 2010. It has 12 nationwide offices that are located in Penang, Perak, Selangor, Kota Kinabalu, Singapore, Hong Kong, China, and Philippines. They are a company that sells gold bars that are converted into gold wafers, which are priced according to the Gold Bullion Entrepreneur Association Malaysia. Tun Mahathir, who was the former Prime Minister of Malaysia, was a part of the gold trading company's establishment. Geneva had almost 50,000 clients as it was encouraged by Tun Mahathir to invest in gold. He said to the people that money, currency is just a piece of paper used to represent a certain value, but not the real value. Yet gold can represent the real value because it is a precious metal all over the world. And this has led the people to trust in Geneva. The gold trading company is also known as Sharia Compliant Gold Company. The Sharia principle used by them is called Al-Ba'i. Al-Ba'i is a concept where it involves a contract in the sale and buyback transaction of assets by sellers. In this case, Geneva is supposed to sell gold bullions or coins to clients on cash basis. Geneva would later repurchase the assets on a deferred payment basis where the price is higher than the original cash price. However, this was not the case. Geneva did not apply that principle, but instead it sold gold bullion at a premium price that is much higher than the market price, around 25 to 30% higher. Geneva then would give back the returns to the clients of only 2 to 3% every month. It was later discovered that Geneva actually owes money to customers around 80 million ringgit. It was only found out after many customers has filed police reports against the company. Around 8,000 customers who have paid for gold amounting to 4,000 kilograms of gold have said that they have not received any of the gold, which led to Geneva owing them 80 million ringgit worth of gold. Due to this, investigation was done towards Geneva, Bank Negara Malaysia, the Royal Malaysian Police, Companies Commission, and many more have worked together to unsolve the mysteries of Geneva. Finally, Geneva was caught doing crimes like illegal deposit taking, money laundering, tax evasion and avoidance, misrepresentation, and also appointment of unlicensed agents. The directors of the company are finally sentenced to jail, and Geneva was fined for 450 million ringgit as they were found guilty of all these charges. Next, let's take a look at the issues of money laundering in Geneva. One of the charges that was imposed in Geneva was money laundering. Geneva, Malaysia, Tan, Lim, Ngeng, Philip, and Ahmad Khairuddin were charged of possessing, transferring, receiving, and also obtaining money via a check which was banked into their own account. In relation to the gold investment scam, Geneva, alongside 8 people, were charged with more than 1,000 charges of money laundering and illegal deposit taking in 2014. They were charged according to Section 4(1) Anti-Money Laundering. The money laundering activities did not just involve Geneva, as Geneva has cooperated with 2 other companies which are Success Aptitude Sdn Bhd and Ngeng Advantage Sdn Bhd. Together, they have wrongfully gathered deposits totaling about 7 billion ringgit and subsequently laundered 4.5 billion ringgit elsewhere. Because these are serious offences, they were each given a term of 4 to 9 years in prison and a fine of 1 million ringgit to 4 million ringgit. These are the specific list of some of the people and companies that were charged under the Section 4(1) Anti-Money Laundering. We have Marcus Yi Yuan Seng, Chu Su Ling, Yao Kebun, who are from Geneva, Malaysia Sdn Bhd, Success Aptitude Sdn Bhd, who are charged with a fine of 8 million ringgit, and Ngeng Advantage Sdn Bhd, who are charged of a fine of 10 million ringgit.
Next, I will present about the recommendation for the kids. The first one is Bank Negara Malaysia should tighten the rules and regulations. The gold investing plan is one that BNM is aware of. BNM should exercise stronger monitoring of any gold-related schemes in Malaysia and tighten the rules and regulations governing gold investments. That is because there are companies that are registered with the Malaysian Companies Commission. In order to make sure companies are trying to mislead their own clients and to educate the public who are considering buying gold but haven't done so, As a result of the lack of verifiable information, BNM should carry out routine investigations of businesses that have been successful in achieving unforeseeably high sales for any gold investment scheme. Since in Malaysia, the level of regulation for gold investment is still viewed as wrong, I am sure that it can strengthen its regulation of commodities, especially gold. The next one is Companies Commission of Malaysia (SSM) should raise the requirements to be licensed. The Securities Commission Malaysia Sharia Advisory Council has also given its support to the publication of various SCM guidelines on Sharia standards for Islamic Exchange Traded Funds (ETFs). When JMSB conducts a conventional gold investment despite claiming it is a Sharia-compliant investment, it is SSM's duty to ensure that each firm complies with the rules imposed by other regulatory authorities to ensure business licenses are granted to the correct companies. It shows that the criteria set by SSM are weak, and as a result, they grow into a possibility for companies to mismanage their activities. Business mistakes shouldn't happen, especially for a fairly well-known company. Next is the opinion and recommendation of money laundering. The first one is anti-money laundering, AML. AML is a set of policies, procedures, and technologies that prevents money laundering. There are three major steps in money laundering, which are placement, layering, and integration. And various controls are put in place to monitor suspicious activity that could be involved in money laundering. Some anti-money laundering controls include knowing your customer, software filtering, and implementing holding periods. The second one is improved search with technology. As we all know, it's increasingly difficult to separate serious potential threats from the many false positives turning up in search. So, using some form of technology such as artificial intelligence (AI) to conduct constant searches can reduce some of the burden for AML officials, essentially weeding out some false positives while expanding searches. With technology, we can look at a broader scope of alerts without having anyone physically going through all of them, and it makes for better coverage while letting staff devote their efforts to accounts deserving their time and attention. And last but not least, use data analytics to find patterns. Data analytics are a very critical piece of combating money laundering. Once AML officials recognize questionable patterns, they can develop client models, timing potential risks, and incorporating daily negative news alerts. We will see if there are correlations between negative news and any characteristics of the account, whether it's geography or other factors. The goal is real-time analysis of a customer's risk before they are ever in the bank, not 2 or 3 days after the fact. All they will need is a couple of days to make sure the money will have been invested into the bank and it is gone. TCF use due diligence tools to better link accounts with potential alerts or money laundering patterns. Finding individuals with multiple PINs or with connections to tax fraud are among the many factors that could trigger further investigations.
Hi and Assalamualaikum. My name is Nur AIMAN and BINTI Muhammad JAUHAR. Today I'm going to inform you guys about the duties and the method that auditor employ to prevent money laundering. Here are the duty and the procedures that auditor employ to prevent money laundering. The first point is to keep them safe and to stand the right side of the law. A most important element that people will talk about here is knowing your client. The Know Your Customer Rules 2020 is an ethical rule that states that every broker deals should use reasonable effort when opening and maintaining client accounts. Broker dealers must know and keep record of the essential fact of each customer, and they should identify each person who has an authority to act on the customer's behalf. In short, the institution must know a specific information about the client to ensure that the customer is who they say they are. The process allows the broker to establish essential facts beforehand so they can service the account effectively. For example, the source of their funds. Most of the firm accounting in the one part of work refuse to have many clients who were in the casino business because they know at that time the casino business was essentially run by a bunch of criminals and almost certainly there was money laundering going on there. In order to prevent money laundering, they rejected the casino business. Next is auditor should then appoint a money laundering reporting officer. The money laundering reporting officer is a senior member of the auditing firm who can determine if a transaction is a money laundering or not. You don't want a junior employee to see something they don't understand quickly, right? False alarm can disrupt client-order relationship. We could decide whether to refer a query to an experienced money laundering reporting officer. Gabriel Dugan, which is a CEO of YUSOFF, says compliance officers are useful. Anti-money laundering rules are vital for the corporate growth and longevity. My suggestion to the business owner is to train all the finance staff in anti-money laundering compliance. If possible, hire a compliance officer. An anti-money laundering compliance officer can create and monitor staff training and act as link with management. Having someone who can check your organization following policy will reduce costly concern. Thirdly there is a new technology. The technology used to detect suspicious activity associated with a money laundering is evolving and becoming more accurate. Artificial intelligence and big data software, for example, enable this system to become more advanced. As we all know, in the present day, individuals have introduced a variety of a new and advanced technology. As a result, auditors will face no problem in preventing money laundering. Auditors, as we will know, cannot directly prevent financial fraud from the occurring, but they can customize their job to maximize the likelihood of catching it. Money laundering cases will be reduced by new technology since auditor will be utilize advanced technology in all type of transaction and key-in data. The law does not require the auditor to actively check for the money laundering, but it does require the auditor to disclose any suspicious of such activity. Their task in detecting fraud is actually difficult and necessitates the use of expert skepticism. It is ultimately up to a court to judge if a criminal act was committed. Lastly, the auditor should tell the authority. A paragraph in an engagement letter should warn the customer of money laundering and proceed of crime law. Auditors will say, "Don't test me. I know my legal duty. If I suspect money laundering, I will tell the authority." The auditor can help combat financial crime by informing the company management of fraud or non-compliance with relevant law and regulation. Auditors should report financial crime, suspicions of money laundering, and terrorist financing and law and regulation relation to a relevant authority. For example, an employee claims the company fraudulently won a governmental contract. The auditor will review the contract and the project's financial record or spending accounts. He can conduct interviews or analyze to better understand and analyze the client's business. If fraud is confirmed, the auditor notifies the relevant level within the organization or the competent authority. Next, we go to the conclusion. For the conclusion, money laundering is a serious crime that hurts the economy and the social, political, and cultural growth of industrialized nation. Since 2001, Malaysia government and law enforcement agencies have strengthened their effort to combat money laundering. The government has imposed legislation on money launderers to reduce and manage illicit cases. By having money laundering law and restriction, society may learn how to fight that. Society should learn from the past experience to observe government law. With the Anti-Money Laundering Act in 2001, Malaysia joined the international community's effort to stop money laundering. Malaysia continued to fight money laundering and terrorist financing within its border. Money laundering prevention requires international cooperation, capacity training, and better supervision. An in-depth investigation of a main legislation and implementation problem is needed for the global comparative analysis. That's all from us. Thank you.